Hello and welcome to the first of 3 YouTube clips which I've made to teach you how to write an essay for HSC subjects. My particular focus is on legal studies, but the things I'm going to teach you apply across the board. So let's get straight into it. There's 3 parts to writing an essay, and that's an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. This video, as I said, is focusing on the introduction. There'll be another video straight after on the body, and then another video on the conclusion. What goes into an introduction? It's straightforward. You start with your thesis, you then outline the 3 or 4 points of your content that you're going to talk about. You then go in and you restate your thesis. If our body, that's 3 or 4 paragraphs depending on how much content you've decided to use. Then every single paragraph has 5 points to it. We have what we refer to as appeal structure. So that has a point. You begin every paragraph with a point. You then move into an elaboration. You then provide an example. You then explain that example, and then you then link back to the question. You repeat that 3 or 4 times depending on how much content you want to cover, and that's the way you write fantastic body paragraphs. Finally, you conclude it. We start off with a thesis when we hit our conclusion, then we restate our content, and then we restate our thesis again in light of that, and then we have an impact statement, something that's going to linger with the marker afterwards. This essay, as I stated, though, is on the introduction, and the introduction has 3 main parts to it. The thesis. Now, your thesis is your argument. It is your position. So for legal studies, you're saying that the law has been effective, the law has not been effective. It is your particular position or opinion on the question, on the matter at hand. Your content is straightforward. That will be the things from the syllabus the students learn to those dot points that you're going to rely on that proves your thesis. And finally, when you restate your thesis, you come through and you drive home the point that you're trying to make. The way that this is now structured, I'm going to show you an example of an actual response to show you how this might work in reality. Okay, so the specific question that we're going to be looking at is the 2010 question for the family law. It states that assess whether changes to family law are an improvement on previous law. Okay, so immediately we should be noting the command terminology. It's assess, and that means that you need to provide your opinion. It also means you need to substantiate opinion based on criteria. You then go on, and the content it's asking is nice and broad. It's asking about any improvements on previous law, and whether you think or any changes to previous law, and whether you think that's an improvement. Okay, so as stated earlier, the first thing we need to do is we need to throw out our thesis. So this is an example of that. Here it is. Changes in family law have been an improvement on previous laws when assessed in terms of its responsiveness and its application of the rule of law. This is the first thing that happens when you go to write your introduction, is you're telling the marker your opinion, and then second of all, you're backing it up with the criteria. The marker is already moving towards thinking this is a top-down response. An alarming number of students in New South Wales will not do this. They will simply describe law. They'll mention things that they've learned in class, but they won't structure it around a specific opinion, and they will not provide a specific criteria to support that. There's a small caveat I supply here. While many of the improvements have been beneficial, there remains a number of key areas that could be further improved. That's just in relation to same-sex marriage, and it's particular this question. You don't always have to put that in. Okay, we've got our thesis happening. Let's quickly hit them with the content that we're going to be relying on to prove that. So there have been substantial changes in statute and common law in relation to family in areas such as the recognition of same-sex marriage, divorce, and surrogacy laws. They're the 3 things I'm talking about, marker. There will be 1 paragraph in my body on same-sex, 1 paragraph on divorce, and 1 paragraph on surrogacy. The marker is already feeling pretty happy. Now, we don't want to just leave it at that. We're going to make it sound a little bit more convincing, so we're going to restate our thesis for the marker. So it's going to sound like this. Reforms in these areas have generally improved the legal conditions for these groups. However, as is the case with the recognition of same-sex marriage and international surrogacy laws, this still requires reform. So we're simply restating our thesis, referring back to that small caveat that I mentioned earlier. Okay, just to remind you, the main parts of an introduction are its thesis, the content points, and then you restate your thesis. We're now going to go on and follow the link through, please, because we've got a separate video on how to write your body using that appeal structure. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you hated the video, thumb it down. If you've got a question or a comment, leave it in the comment bank. Any of the above would be good. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. Cheers.